My boyfriend cheated on me at the airport, and he didn't even know I was watching his entire life fall apart. My name is Avery Collins, and until that morning, I believed I was in a stable, committed 4-year relationship with a man I trusted more than anyone. His name was Jason Reed, and if you had asked me then, I would have told you he was honest, hardworking, and loyal. I would have listed a dozen reasons why he was the person I planned to build a future with, and I would have been wrong about every single one of them. The morning everything came crashing down wasn't extraordinary at first. It was a quiet Thursday in early fall, the kind of morning where the air feels cool but not cold, and the sun is just bright enough to make things look peaceful. I remember brewing coffee while Jason rushed around the apartment, tossing clothes into his suitcase and checking his watch every 30 seconds. He said he had a 3-day marketing conference in Miami, and he needed to get to the airport early because the company warned all employees about long security lines. It sounded normal, reasonable, nothing to question. I offered to drive him because his car had been acting up and he looked relieved. In hindsight, that should have been a red flag. Jason acted relieved every time he didn't have to use his own phone, his own car, or his own accounts. But I didn't see it then. I thought he was just stressed about work. He kissed me on the cheek before we left, something he hadn't done much recently, and said, "Thanks for helping me out, Ave. You're a lifesaver." His sudden sweetness didn't feel genuine, it felt rehearsed, but I pushed the feeling down. I had been pushing feelings down for a long time. We got into the car, and he immediately plugged his phone into the charger and turned its screen down. He said it helped him focus on his presentation notes. Again, normal on the surface. Suspicious when I look back. The drive to O'Hare Airport should have been simple, light traffic, familiar route. But halfway there, my phone died. Completely. I had ignored the low battery warning before we left, and now it shut off with no hope of turning back on until I got home. I asked Jason if I could use his phone for navigation. He froze for half a second, the kind of micro-expression only visible when you're looking for it. But I wasn't looking for anything then. I was just annoyed that my phone had died. He hesitated, then handed over his phone with the same forced smile he used whenever he was pretending to be relaxed. I typed in the directions and placed the phone in the holder. For a few minutes, everything was quiet except for the GPS voice and the hum of traffic. Jason leaned his seat back and closed his eyes like he planned to nap. And that was when the first message appeared. It dropped down from the top of the screen like a trapdoor opening. A preview, one I couldn't ignore even if I had tried. It came from a contact saved under a single letter. K, the message said, "I'm already at the airport. Can't wait to see you. Same hotel, right?" My chest tightened so hard I felt it in my back. I didn't react outwardly. I didn't gasp. I didn't slam on the brakes. I didn't even breathe differently. I just stared at the road and watched the words fade from the screen like they were never there. My heart told me to check the messages. My brain told me not to. But my silence made the decision for me. Another notification appeared. "Your girlfriend still thinks you're on a work trip. That's insane." My fingers felt cold against the steering wheel. Jason's breathing stayed calm, even peaceful, like a man who had no idea the truth was spilling out in front of me. A part of me wanted to wake him up and demand an explanation. A bigger part of me wanted to pull over and scream. But I didn't do either. I did nothing, because something deeper inside me whispered, "Wait, watch, let this play out." I forced my voice to sound normal when I said, "We're about 10 minutes away." Jason stretched, rubbed his eyes, and mumbled, "Perfect. Just drop me at Terminal H, the same terminal in the messages." I didn't confront him then. I didn't say a single word about what I saw. But when we pulled up to the drop-off lane and I watched him grab his suitcase with that same fake smile, I already knew the truth. He wasn't going to a conference. He was meeting her. And he had absolutely no idea that everything, every part of his trip, was about to fall apart. What he didn't know was that I already had access to something he relied on far more than his phone, and it gave me the power to end his entire trip before it even began. He had no idea that I held the one thing he depended on more than his phone, and that I was about to use it to tear his entire trip apart. When Jason walked into the terminal, he didn't even look back. No wave, no second glance, no moment of hesitation. He rolled his suitcase behind him with the confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. I sat in the car for a moment, watching him disappear behind the sliding glass doors, feeling my heart pound so hard it echoed in my ears. It wasn't sadness anymore. Not shock, not even rage. It was clarity, cold, sharp clarity. I pulled into the nearest parking garage, shut off the engine, and let the silence settle. My hands trembled for a moment, but the trembling stopped the second I remembered the truth. Every reservation he made, every ticket, every credit card he used, every account he depended on, all of it existed because of me. My name, my email, my autopay settings, my login access. Jason liked convenience, and I had always made things convenient. Now, convenience was the very thing that would unravel him. I opened his email. I knew the password by memory because I was the one who set it up 2 years ago. His inbox loaded instantly. No two-factor verification, no alerts, nothing to stop me. Jason never cared about security because he never cared about consequences. The subject line hit me like a slap. Your trip to Miami, final confirmation. It detailed everything he planned, the seats he upgraded, the early boarding he paid for, the hotel near the beach, the rental car, all of it. And none of it was for work. Everything had her name woven between the lines, texts from her about matching check-in times, shared maps, playlists for the rental car drive, and a dinner reservation for 2. A 4-year relationship replaced by a 3-day getaway. I clicked cancel reservation. A warning box popped up asking if I was sure. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. The moment I confirmed, another message appeared. Your flight has been successfully canceled. A refund will be processed to your primary payment method. Which was, of course, my card. I stared at the words until my heartbeat slowed. I expected to feel guilty, but there was no guilt, only justice. Next, I opened the bank app. The shared travel card was under both our names, but I was the primary account holder. I froze the card with one swipe. His access instantly vanished. The motion felt almost too easy, like flipping a switch. Then came the part that surprised even me. I wasn't done. Jason thought he was the mastermind in control of a double life, but he forgot the most important rule about lies. They always connect to someone else's truth. I searched for Kay in his recent messages and found her full name inside a restaurant reservation. It took 3 minutes to find her on social media. Her profile picture showed her laughing on a beach. Her bio said she lived in Chicago. Her last photo was with a tall, clean-cut man holding her waist, tagged as Daniel Harris, her boyfriend, her very serious boyfriend. Before I could think twice, I clicked on Daniel's profile. His posts told the story of a man planning a future with her. Sweet captions, trips together, a birthday dinner last week, all while she was planning a secret vacation with Jason. I sent him a message. No anger, no explanation, just the screenshots. 3 minutes later, he replied, "Thank you for telling me. I'll handle my part. You're not alone in this." His calmness unsettled me. It meant he wasn't surprised. It meant he had been waiting for confirmation. It meant both of us were about to pull the last threads out of a lie that had been stretched too far. I stepped out of the car and walked toward the terminal, not to confront Jason. I had no desire to see him, but to watch, from a distance, what happened when consequences caught up to someone who believed he could outrun them. Inside the airport lobby, I could already hear the tension. Jason stood at the airline counter, arguing with a staff member, waving his useless boarding pass in the air. His voice rose with every sentence. "It says canceled. That's impossible. I didn't cancel anything." The agent tried to explain that the refund had already been issued. Jason slammed his hand on the counter. "I paid for early boarding. I paid for everything." "Fix it," he kept repeating. "I paid," because he didn't yet realize the truth. He paid nothing, and he was about to lose even more. As I watched him fall apart at the counter, someone unexpected stepped out of the crowd behind him, someone who wasn't there for a flight, but for a reckoning. Jason thought the worst thing happening to him was a canceled ticket, but the real disaster was standing right behind him, watching him unravel. I leaned against a pillar near the oversized luggage counter, far enough not to be noticed, but close enough to hear the rising tension at the gate desk. Jason was pacing now, running a hand through his hair, his voice wavering between fake politeness and barely disguised panic. The airline agent kept repeating the same explanation. The ticket had been canceled online, refunded to the primary payment method, and could not be reinstated without a full rebooking. Jason didn't understand yet. He didn't know the primary payment method was mine. He didn't know I was quietly watching. But the man walking toward him from behind definitely knew something. Daniel Harris. I recognized him instantly from the photos on KS social media. Black jacket, tall frame, sharp jawline. He looked like someone who had rehearsed every step he was taking in his mind. His eyes weren't angry, not even emotional. He looked like a man who had reached the final stage of clarity. He stopped a few feet behind Jason. He didn't say anything at first. He just watched. The airline agent asked Jason again if he wanted to purchase a new ticket. Jason tried another card. Declined. Another declined. He slapped the counter again, frustration bubbling over. Behind him, Daniel spoke. "Try her card. I'm sure she packed it for you." Jason turned sharply, confused, eyes darting between the stranger and the counter. "What? Who are you?" Daniel pulled his phone from his pocket and held up the screen, messages, screenshots, pictures. The same ones I had sent him 20 minutes earlier. "My name's Daniel," he said calmly, "and I'm the man your little side trip was supposed to stay secret from." Jason's face drained of color. For the first time, he looked genuinely afraid, not of losing money, not of missing a flight, but of exposure, of being caught by someone he didn't expect. He stammered, "Look, man, this isn't what you think." "This," Daniel interrupted, shaking his head slowly, "is exactly what I think." People around them began to slow down, glancing over. Travelers pretended to fix their bags or adjust their coats just to stay close enough to listen. The kind of crowd that forms instinctively when something raw is unfolding. Jason stepped back. "Look, we can talk somewhere else." "No," Daniel said. "You're going to listen right here." His voice was calm, controlled. That made it worse. He held up the phone again, scrolling through a few of the messages. "You told her you loved her. You told her I was boring. You told her I'd never find out." Jason grabbed for the phone, but Daniel stepped back like he had expected the move. "You planned a vacation with her. Same hotel I took her to last month. Same beach. Same restaurants. You didn't even come up with your own ideas." Jason's jaw tightened. "Nothing happened. We're coworkers." Daniel laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Coworkers who book hotel suites together and send photos at 2 in the morning." Sure, Jason tried to look around for an escape, but people were watching from every direction. I stayed where I was, hidden behind the pillar, letting the truth fall where it needed to. Daniel continued. "She's downstairs, by the way, crying in the parking lot. I told her she should tell you all the things she told me, about how she didn't really see a future with you either, about how she was planning to break things off after the trip." Jason's lips parted. "What?" Daniel lowered his phone. "She used you, the same way you used Avery." Hearing my name felt like a punch to his chest. He froze. Daniel stared at him for a long moment before saying quietly, "Avery knows. She knows everything." Jason spun around, eyes scanning the terminal like he expected me to appear in front of him with anger and tears. He didn't realize I was right behind him, tucked behind a structural pillar, watching him lose every ounce of composure. Daniel gestured toward the counter. "You can't board, you can't pay, you can't leave. And trust me, she won't be joining you now." Jason looked down at the useless boarding pass still crumpled in his hand. I watched his shoulders slump as the reality settled in. But the ending hadn't arrived yet. Because what neither of them knew was that something else inside Jason's account was about to update. And when it did, everything would collapse even further. Right as Jason tried to walk away, his phone lit up with a notification. One that made him go pale, stop dead in his tracks, and look around in panic like the ground had dropped beneath him. Jason thought the airport confrontation was the worst part of his day, until his phone lit up with the one notification that proved his entire life was collapsing in real time. Jason froze mid-step when the alert appeared across his lock screen. Even from a distance, I could see the sudden shock drain the last bit of color from his face. His hand trembled as he lifted the phone and unlocked it, scanning the screen like he hoped he was misreading what he saw. He wasn't. The notification was from the bank. Your card has been frozen due to security changes made by the primary account holder. A second notification followed. Login attempt blocked. Two-factor authentication required. A third. Your account contact email has been changed. And then the final blow. You have been removed as an authorized user. Jason whispered. No, 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 what is this? He looked like a man watching the walls close in around him. Daniel folded his arms. Looks like someone took back control. Jason's head snapped toward the airline desk. Excuse me, can you try running the card again? His voice cracked. It should work now. Maybe it was just a glitch. The agent scanned the boarding pass one more time and shook her head firmly. Sir, the ticket was canceled and refunded. If you want to travel today, you'll need to repurchase a new ticket. Jason shoved the frozen card across the counter. Please, just try it. She tried, declined. He tried a backup card, declined. He tried the digital wallet on his phone. Account locked. Every door he reached for was now sealed shut. The agent looked at him with the kind of exhausted sympathy only airport staff develop after dealing with 1,000 travelers in crisis. Sir, you don't have any valid form of payment. There's nothing more we can do. Jason staggered back from the counter like someone had punched him. For the first time, he looked lost. Really lost. His jaw clenched, and he raked his fingers through his hair with the shake of a man whose entire identity was unraveling. I stepped back behind the pillar a bit more, making sure he still didn't see me. I wanted to watch. I wanted to see what he did next. I wanted to see who he became when his lies finally stopped working. Daniel stepped closer. You should call her. Maybe she'll buy your ticket. Jason turned slowly, eyes wide, almost hollow. She's here. Daniel nodded toward the escalators. Yeah, downstairs, crying in her car. She said you were supposed to use your card for everything. Jason swallowed hard. We had a plan. Daniel lifted an eyebrow. Did she? Because when I talked to her, she told me a very different story. Jason stared at him. What did she say? That you pressured her into this. That you planned the whole thing. That you told her I was controlling. That you said Avery didn't care about you. Every sentence hit Jason like a physical blow. Daniel continued. She said she wanted to end things, but you insisted on one last weekend together. She made it clear you meant nothing to her. Jason's mouth fell open. That's a lie. She's lying. She was the one who... Daniel cut him off with a shrug. Believe whatever you want. I'm just here to return the truth you two tried to bury. Jason's breath grew shallow. I need to talk to her. Daniel motioned toward the escalator. Go ahead. She's right down there. Jason hesitated, then rushed toward the escalators, dragging his suitcase behind him. His movements were clumsy, frantic, almost desperate. His confidence from earlier had evaporated, replaced by pure panic. I followed from a distance, careful to stay 2 or 3 clusters of travelers behind him. We moved slowly through the terminal, past food stands and families and boarding announcements blaring over the speakers. Jason reached the bottom of the escalator and scanned the rows of parked cars near the pickup lane. He spotted her almost immediately. She was sitting in the driver's seat of a blue sedan, wiping her face with a tissue. When Jason approached the window, she tensed, rolled it down halfway, and looked up at him with red, puffy eyes. He knelt beside the window. Kara, talk to me, he begged. Tell me what's going on. She shook her head, tears forming again. Jason, I didn't sign up for this. What are you talking about? He asked, voice rising. Daniel knows, she whispered. He showed up before I even got out of the car. He showed me everything. I didn't know you'd be caught so fast. Jason's expression twisted. Fast. Kara, he showed up because someone sent him screenshots. Everything, all of it. How did he even know? She closed her eyes. Maybe your girlfriend figured it out. Jason froze. The first real flicker of understanding crossed his face. Wait, he said slowly. Avery? Kara didn't answer. Jason stood abruptly, backing away from the car like he had just seen a ghost. He looked around wildly, scanning the crowd, searching the faces rushing past him, searching for me. He whispered my name like someone calling out into a storm. Avery? He didn't know where I was. He didn't know if I had seen everything. He didn't know how much control I still had. But he was about to find out. Because right then, at the edge of the pickup lane, another notification appeared on his phone. One that would make everything he'd built come crashing down harder than anything he'd experienced so far. Jason thought losing the trip was the worst thing that could happen, until the next notification revealed that the destruction had only just begun. Jason stood shaking in the pickup lane, his suitcase at his feet, Kara crying in her car, Daniel watching from a distance like a man observing justice unfold. But Jason wasn't focused on any of them. He was staring at his phone, blinking rapidly as another alert slid across the screen. This one wasn't from the bank, not from the airline, not from any account he could fix with a phone call. It was from our apartment management portal. Your lease update, primary resident changed. Jason frowned, tapped it, and read further. Request submitted by Avery Collins, status approved. Approved, not pending, not processing. Approved, his voice cracked in confusion. No, this isn't right. He tapped the link again, checked the account, refreshed the page. The message stayed the same. He wasn't the primary resident anymore. He wasn't even listed as a resident. I removed him from our lease the night before. Quietly, without confrontation, without warning. I waited until I had evidence. Power, leverage. And now it was showing up in real time, right in front of him. Jason staggered back against a metal railing as if his legs couldn't support him anymore. He looked up toward the terminal, eyes bouncing between the crowds of travelers and security officers, searching for answers, for stability, for something to grab onto. He found nothing. Kara rolled down her window again, her voice barely above a whisper. Jason, did she kick you out? He didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He was breathing like someone drowning in air. Daniel stepped closer from behind, speaking quietly but firmly. You should go home, man, or wherever home is for you now. Jason spun around, eyes wild. This is your fault. You ruined everything. You didn't have to show up here. Daniel didn't even flinch. I didn't ruin anything. You did. Jason's face crumpled. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. She can't just remove me. She can, Daniel said calmly. And she did. Jason ran a shaky hand over his face. I need to talk to Avery. I need to fix this. Daniel let out a short, cold exhale. Avery doesn't owe you a conversation. She owes herself peace. Jason ignored him. He turned, scanning the crowd again, desperate, frantic, looking for me like he expected me to jump out from behind a pillar and save him from the consequences he built. He didn't know I had already left the terminal. I had moved to a higher level of the parking structure where I had a clear view without being seen. And from above, I watched him unravel. Another notification hit his phone. This one mattered more than all the others. He tapped it, hands trembling, and the color drained from his face completely. Shared streaming accounts, password reset by primary owner. Cloud drive, access removed. Phone plan. Line disconnected. And finally, device backup and password manager removed from authorized list. He stared at the screen like it had just told him he no longer existed. This can't be happening, he whispered. Avery wouldn't do this. She wouldn't, but I would. And I did. Jason started pacing back and forth, running both hands through his hair. She thinks she can erase me. She thinks she can just cut me out like this. Daniel looked at him with quiet pity. You cut yourself out. Jason's breathing got faster. I have to go home. I have to fix this. Kara finally stepped out of her car, wiping her face. Jason, maybe you should give her space. He turned on her sharply. You're the reason this even happened. Her eyes widened. Me, you chased me, you lied to her, you used me. Jason pointed a shaking finger. If you hadn't texted me this morning, Kara snapped back. If you hadn't cheated, none of this would exist. Jason's anger suddenly melted into something else. Panic, desperation, fear. The fear of someone who realizes they don't have a backup plan. He grabbed his suitcase and looked around the airport like he wasn't sure which direction was up anymore. I need to find Avery, he whispered. I need to explain. Daniel stepped in front of him, blocking his path. You've done enough explaining to her, to me, to Kara, to everyone. Maybe you should stop talking and start listening. Jason didn't respond. He just stared past Daniel, toward the parking structure, toward me even though he couldn't see me. He whispered my name again. Avery, not in anger, not in entitlement. but in fear of being alone for the first time in his life. And he wasn't wrong to be afraid, because the final blow was still coming. As Jason reached the curb to call a rideshare, his phone buzzed again, this time with a notification he never expected to see, one that told him his world outside the airport had just collapsed even harder than the world inside it. Jason thought the airport was rock bottom, but the next notification proved he hadn't even begun to fall. Jason dragged his suitcase toward the curb, still breathing unevenly, still tapping the side of his dead credit card like that would somehow bring it back to life. People passing by stared at him the same way they stare at a delayed flight announcement, sympathetically at first, then with growing impatience. No one wants to watch someone else unravel, yet no one could look away. He reached the rideshare pickup lane and tapped his phone's screen to order a car. The app loaded slowly, too slowly. Then the loading screen flickered and a red banner appeared at the top. Payment method invalid. Please update your card to continue. He tried again, and again, and again. Every card, every account, every linked payment method gone. He cursed it under his breath, stepped aside, and rubbed his face like he could wipe this entire day away. Then his phone vibrated with another notification, one different from all the others. It was from the building security app. Front door access disabled. Key fob authorization revoked. Followed by, primary resident has changed your access privileges. Jason stared at the screen, blinking rapidly. No, she didn't. She wouldn't do this. She wouldn't lock me out. Daniel, still keeping a loose distance behind him, said quietly, Looks like she did. Jason shook his head violently. She can't just erase me from the lease, the accounts, the apartment. She can't just wipe me out. Daniel tilted his head. You wiped yourself out the moment you lied to her. Jason's voice cracked as he whispered, She's ending everything. Everything? He tried dialing my number. It rang once. Then the call cut off. Blocked. He stared at the screen in disbelief. He tried again. Blocked. For the first time, he looked like a man who realized the woman he had dismissed, underestimated, and lied to had finally stopped giving him chances. He sat on the bench near the curb, gripping his suitcase handle like it was the last solid thing in his life. The sun was bright above him, and for a moment he just stared forward, stunned, quiet, lost. Meanwhile, Kara approached cautiously. She stayed a few feet away, her arms crossed over her chest, her expression torn between guilt and exhaustion. Jason, she said softly, maybe you should let her go. He snapped. Let her go? You think I'm going to just walk away? She's my girlfriend. Kara blinked. You weren't acting like she was. Jason flinched like her words physically struck him. Daniel stepped closer. She doesn't want to talk to you. Jason stood abruptly. And how would you know? Daniel exhaled slowly. Because if she wanted to talk, she wouldn't have done all of this. Jason ignored him. He opened the rideshare app again and tried adding a new payment method, his old debit card, the one he never used. The app rejected it. He tried linking PayPal. Blocked. He tried ordering a taxi app. Payment failed. Desperation began to twist his face. He didn't have a car, his was in the shop. He didn't have access to mine, not after I revoked it. He didn't have a working rideshare account. He didn't have cash, he rarely carried any. He didn't have a home to go back to, not when he could enter. He had nowhere to go, no money, no control. Not even his phone's data plan was truly his. My name was on the account. And that's when the worst notification came. His phone buzzed with a loud vibration he wasn't used to, a priority alert. He lifted it, eyes narrowing. Your phone line has been removed from the plan. Service will be terminated within 10 minutes. He froze. Everything around him suddenly sounded muffled, cars, rolling suitcases, the voice of the terminal speaker announcing flight delays. All of it faded beneath the weight of those words. He whispered, She's shutting off my phone. Daniel nodded once. Looks like she's finally done. Jason looked up at the sky like he was begging the universe for a break. How am I supposed to get home? How am I supposed to talk to her? How am I supposed to? Kara hugged her arms around herself. Jason, maybe this is the part where you stop trying to control everything. Jason turned to her slowly. Kara, can you drive me home? The question made her stiffen. No, Jason, I'm not getting involved any more than I already am. I need to deal with my own relationship. My boyfriend, he saw everything. I need to fix that. You're just leaving? Jason asked, incredulous. She nodded. You left Avery behind. Now you know how it feels. She got into her car, shut the door, and drove away without looking back. Jason watched her leave, his face twisted with disbelief. Daniel stepped closer, speaking quietly. Avery is probably gone already. If you're planning to fix this, you're too late. Jason's breath hitched. Where is she? Did she see me? Did she see all of this? Daniel shrugged. If she did, you deserved it. Jason swallowed hard and turned slowly toward the parking structure, toward the very place I had been standing minutes earlier. I wasn't there anymore, but I had watched enough. He took one shaky step toward the stairwell, dragging his suitcase behind him. His phone buzzed again. The last notification before the service shut off. And this one didn't come from an app. It came from the apartment camera system, one he still had access to for a final moment. Front door activity, Avery Collins has entered the apartment. Front door activity, Avery Collins has locked the door. Front door activity. Access restricted to primary resident. Jason's knees nearly gave out. He whispered, She went home without me. He didn't know that I wasn't alone when I got there. He didn't know what I had carried inside. He didn't know what I was preparing to do next. Because as Jason stared at the last notification before his phone went dark, I was unlocking a drawer in our apartment, one that held the final piece of truth he had always hoped I would never find. While Jason stood outside the airport with a dead phone and nowhere to go, I was unlocking the drawer that held the truth he never expected me to discover. When I stepped into our apartment, the silence felt different. Not empty, not sad, peaceful, like the air finally belonged to me again. I locked the door behind me, not out of spite, but out of finality. It felt symbolic, one last turn of the lock separating my future from his past. I walked across the living room, past the couch where we'd spent movie nights, past the kitchen island where he used to leave his keys, past the framed photos he had insisted we hang. Every corner of the apartment had been touched by a lie I didn't see earlier. Now it all looked sharper, clearer, stripped of the illusions I had once clung to. I crossed into the bedroom. The drawer on the left side of the dresser, the one he always claimed was just receipts and cables, had been locked for months. He kept the key in his backpack. And the backpack, he took it with him to the airport. But he forgot something. 2 weeks earlier, he had left his backpack unzipped in the living room. When I picked it up to move it, the key had slipped into the pocket of my hoodie without me even noticing. I found it later, assumed it was nothing, and forgot about it. Now I understood its purpose. I slid the key into the lock. It turned with a soft click. Inside were dozens of papers, envelopes, and sticky notes, carelessly stuffed together but telling the same story. He had another life, not just another woman, another place, another plan. The first document was a hotel confirmation for a stay 3 months ago, the same weekend he told me he was at a team-building retreat. The second was a printed boarding pass under a different email. The third was a copy of an apartment application in a nearby neighborhood, half filled with his handwriting, listing someone named Cara Brooks as an emergency contact. But the real punch came from a small folded paper tucked between the envelopes, a handwritten note. I recognized Cara's script immediately. I can't wait for the day you finally leave her. The drawer wasn't hiding receipts. It was hiding intentions. He hadn't just cheated. He had planned a future without me, one he never had the courage to say out loud. He was building a second life while expecting me to keep the first one running for him. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the note between my fingers, feeling the weight of the truth settle in fully. I waited for the usual ache, the heartbreak, the humiliation, the feeling of being replaced. But instead, something else filled the space, relief, because I wasn't losing him. I was escaping him. While I gathered everything into a pile, a faint vibration buzzed on the nightstand. It was Jason's old tablet, the only device he had forgotten to log out of properly. A flood of notifications appeared across the screen before the device synced. Missed calls, voicemails, messages failing to send. And then one final alert, time-stamped only minutes earlier. Your phone line has been deactivated. His last remaining connection to me gone, and mine to him finally severed. I took a deep breath and powered the tablet off. This chapter was ending. All that remained was the clarity of what came next. I opened my laptop, logged into the apartment portal, and submitted the final document I had prepared the night before, my change of address request and lease extension under my name only. I had planned it even before discovering the texts, a quiet backup in case the red flags meant exactly what I feared. Then I grabbed a suitcase from under the bed, not his, but mine, and filled it only with the things I cared about. Clothes, my journal, my laptop, family photos, nothing of his, nothing from our shared life. When I zipped it closed, a strange calm spread through me. This wasn't running away. This was walking toward freedom. I set the suitcase by the door, turned off the lights, and took one last look around the apartment. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene of lies, and I wasn't staying for the cleanup. I stepped outside, locked the door behind me, and placed his house key in an envelope. I slid it under the door, letting it fall to the floor inside the apartment he no longer had access to. By the time Jason arrived, whether on foot, by borrowed car, or however he managed it, the door wouldn't open for him. Nothing would. Not the accounts. Not the lease. Not the phone. Not the future he expected me to maintain for him. As I walked down the hallway, the elevator chimed. The doors opened, and for the first time all day, I exhaled without pain. At the bottom floor, I stepped outside into the evening air. I called a rideshare. Mine worked. Mine was active. Mine was paid with my card on my account. The car pulled up and I placed my suitcase inside. I didn't look back at the building. I didn't need to. Because while Jason lost everything at the airport, I found something much more valuable. Myself. He cheated on me the same day I drove him to the airport. But that was the day I finally stopped carrying a man who had already chosen to live a lie. In the end, I didn't destroy him. I simply stopped saving him.